You are listening to Eat Meat Sparingly, a Word of Wisdom podcast. I am your host, Ali Essig. This episode is sponsored by the Holistic Holiday at Sea. I want you to imagine going on to a stunning location and seeing Alaska like never before on a cruise designed just for your soul. Experience the raw beauty of glaciers, wildlife, and northern sky. And this is not just a cruise because there's a community of seekers and healers and lifelong learners. Plus, it's a plant-based gourmet lifestyle at sea. This is a floating sanctuary for plant-based food lovers and wellness explorers. There's education, transformation, and adventure. You get daily access to the top minds in nutrition, like Dr. Greger, and lifestyle medicine and transformation. This cruise offers over $600 in free perks with each ticket, including free Wi-Fi on board, unlimited juice bar, no alcoholic drinks because we don't drink. And your tips and taxes are all included. All you need to do is mention plantwise, PLANTWHYS, for a $50 onboard credit. All right, PLANTWHYS, and you can save $50. I'll include the link below on how you can sign up for this vegan cruise. It is so much fun. All right, let's get to the episode. There are two types of people in this world, usually people who are led by more of the right side of their brain or the left side of their brain. So first I want to talk to you about people who are led by the left side of the brain. They're more logical. They choose to eat less animal products, to eat more plant-based because logically they've done the research. They found that if they want to decrease their cholesterol levels, that if they have maybe an autoimmune disease, if they, like my husband, had a stroke or heart disease, the research is very clear if they actually dive into it and are willing to follow it, that they know if they consume less animal products and more plants, that it is going to improve their health. And maybe even their doctor told them, okay, look, you have diabetes and you have kidney issues and you have high blood pressure. It does make sense that you in particular eat more plants. Now, I want to dedicate this episode to the right brain people, the people who know they need to be healthier, who've wanted to lose weight for a long time, who've had that constant battle with weight. And when they pray about it or when they decide to do something, they're choosing to do it off of that internal feeling. And that internal feeling for them is when they pray and when they have felt guided to eat less animal products, whether it's because they felt so clearly that they needed to follow the word of wisdom, whether they got a spiritual experience that told them that they should follow this way of eating, or even those who absolutely love animals. They just love animals and don't want to eat them, or they love the planet. So whatever reason that you're choosing to eat less meat, there's also a reason why many of you are struggling to actually do it and to put it into practice. This episode is also dedicated to the woman who made a comment about how she had prayed constantly to follow the word of wisdom and felt like she should follow the word of wisdom, but has struggled and struggled and struggled. And that's because sometimes we need more of a plan. We need more direction. And in a world that we live in today, everything feels so black or white. It's you have to go to this extreme and go completely keto, or it's completely high protein. Or even in the plant-based world, those who are saying you don't even have to worry about protein and you just eat lots of plants and no oil and absolutely no animal products ever. And it just feels so hard on both ends. It feels so hard. And that is why I love in the word of wisdom, God meets us where we're at. He doesn't tell us to follow an extreme. He encourages us to eat less meat by doing it sparingly. Nevertheless, these are to be used sparingly. He meets us where we are. And in our approach to trying to follow this way of eating, let's just see where we are right now and see what we can do to be a little bit better and a little bit healthier. I have a plan that after working with almost 1,000 women, I've seen lots of patterns. And we decided that people don't just need to know where the fish are and to go fish, for example, metaphorical fish, plant-based fish. I felt like when I was telling people to eat plant-based, I'm like, here's the fishing pole, and there's where you would kind of go around and fish for. I realized that people need directions. They need step by step. Where do I go? To the right or to the left? How do I hook the fishing line? Which is funny because I literally never fished. So this is a funny example, but in general, we need step by step directions. And when it comes to learning how to eat plant-based, learning to feed yourself in a different way, it can be helpful to follow step-by-step directions. And there's been a lot of plant-based doctors over the years. And honestly, I have realized that my role in all of this is to help people transition to eating more plant-based. I don't necessarily need to convince you of exactly why. I think you know, especially those right-brain people, you know in your heart, you have that intuition, you know you're supposed to be doing this. But why is it so hard? Why is it so difficult? And a lot of doctors in the plant-based world have given us some plans, some ways that we can do it. And for many people, this has worked really well. So I want to go over kind of the main different methods that people have used to switch to more of a plant-based diet. The first method, and especially when it comes to weight loss. So this is in particular with weight loss. When it comes to weight loss, probably the most famous plant-based doctor when it comes to losing weight is going to be Dr. McDougall. And he established what is called in the plant-based world is the 50-50 plate. And that means half of your plate every time you look down is going to be non-starchy vegetables, and the other half of your plate is going to be the starch. I love his approach. When we first went plant-based, I read his book and it just resonated with me. The fact that potatoes are the most satiating food on the planet and that we need starch to survive. And he looked at all of the histories of all of the different cultures in the world and found that starch was at the center of it. Like even in North America with the Native Americans, that it was corn. When you look at the Asian countries, it's going to be rice. What type of starch? And even in the European countries, it was more wheat. That we do need that starch. And in the Word of Wisdom, it talks about that wheat is the staff of man. And that if you look at what we're eating, that even if you were to take a pie chart and look at what the standard American diet consists of, most of the calories actually do come from some type of starch. It's not meat and it's not dairy that's bringing down the caloric or really making us eat more calories. It's usually the refined grains and starches. And just by swapping that out, by taking out the refined bread, the refined pastas, the refined rice, and mostly all of the processed foods, honestly, that just doing that one thing will significantly improve your health. It will make a big difference. And at the Starch Solution, you can find so many people who love to preach it and to help you. And I was one of them. In fact, when I first went plant-based, when I first helped women through it, I taught that McDougall plan, the 50-50 plate, that it's like, okay, now every time you look down at your plate, we're going to get as full as possible on the least amount of calories as possible. So you'll have your potato, you'll have your veggies. And honestly, this works great. However, as I started working with women over time, there was a couple of downsides that I saw. The first downside is that for some of them, they honestly were not getting enough protein. And I know, I've heard the phrase that, if you're eating enough calories or getting enough protein, you don't need to worry about protein on a plant-based diet. Well, that could be true if you're eating enough calories. But when you're following a 50-50 plate, you're intentionally trying to lose weight and you are not eating enough calories. And for some of these women, this worked amazingly well. In fact, I had women who went on the Mary's Mini, right? This is part of our program. Like you can do a Mary's Mini if you want for 14 days. I had women lose like 16 pounds in 2 weeks, minimum 3 pounds, but most women on average would lose 7 pounds in these 2 weeks. It works. It totally works, but it doesn't necessarily work long term. It can be a great way to kickstart you into eating plant-based, but I want you to do this for the long game, not just the short game. And so for the long game, you need to have a long-term plan, which is what I'm going to talk about in a second. Part of that long-term plan should involve considering protein and not thinking about a super high protein diet. No, again, we're not going black or white. We're done with the black and white thinking. It is time to meet in the middle and to think about adequate protein and how much protein you're putting on your plate. So the 50-50 plate. The cons are that it's not going to be sufficient in protein. It doesn't necessarily work long-term, but the pros are that it's super easy and that it works. It really does work to just have half of your plate to be starchy vegetables like potatoes or beans. And honestly, if you do it with beans, if half of your plate is beans, then you will get enough protein. So there is a way to do it and get adequate protein. And the other half of your plate, non-starchy vegetables. But the other con is that it doesn't have fruit. And there's not really a place for fruit. And I'll tell you why eating fruit is key in your success in just a little bit. Now, the next plan that is really famous in this world is Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. Dr. Greger wrote the book, How Not to Die, and it is so good. I highly recommend it. In fact, if you don't have the time to read the whole thing, I actually have cliff notes on the book, How Not to Die. When we first went plant-based and I became a nutritionist, I spent hours combing through that book, pulling out, not just kind of combing through his stories and his information, because he kind of goes off on tangents, right? I just wanted to know, okay, if you want to avoid Alzheimer's, what exactly should you eat? What should you avoid? And I went through every single disease, whether it was Alzheimer's or stroke or diabetes. It's like, okay, what does he say we should focus on eating for this particular disease and then focus on avoiding? Like when it came to Parkinson's disease, for example, you should eat more peppers if you want to avoid Parkinson's disease. So it's fascinating. And with Alzheimer's, it was all about the dark purple, the dark blue fruits and vegetables. And I loved that about that book. And so if you want my Cliff Notes version, I have linked it below. I figured I spent hours putting it together. I might as well give it to other people too. So make sure to check that out. But when it comes to his version of eating, if you're wanting to eat more plant-based, based off of the research, it's really good. It's so good. But it can be overwhelming. For these 12 points, first of all, if you want to follow it, I really love Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen app. It's completely free. So it's worth just downloading and just trying it out for a day because you have nothing to lose. It's literally free. That's what I love about these doctors is they give away their program and their information for free. And in the Daily Dozen app, there's the 12 things that you need to eat every day. So the first thing is beans. After doing all of the research, and even if you've heard about blue zones, you know that those who are consuming at least a cup of beans every single day are going to live 4 years longer than the average individual. Like beans really can extend your lifespan and reduce your risk of things like colon cancer. So if you're eating 3 cups of beans, or I would say 3 servings, and each serving is a half a cup. So if you're eating that many beans, you will be getting enough protein. So that's fantastic. And you have to eat berries. He understands the importance of berries to prevent Alzheimer's and all those things. Berries are great. And 3 servings of other fruits. So right now you have 4 servings of fruits. You have berries plus 3 other fruits. Then you need cruciferous vegetables, plus leafy greens, plus 2 servings of leafy greens, plus 2 servings of other vegetables. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servings of vegetables every day. So we already got 4 servings of fruit, 5 servings of vegetables. Then you need your flax seeds, then your nuts and seeds, your herbs and spices. And on top of that, 3 servings of whole grains. Then making sure you're eating enough or drinking enough water. And then lastly, he does prioritize exercise, which I love because not enough plant-based programs even talk about exercise. And that really is key in your success. What I love about this is it's all about adding in and less about taking away. When you check off the Daily Dozen on your app, you're not worried about, okay, well, I had a little bit of dairy and I had a little bit of meat. And this is a great approach, especially if you're just starting and you're still eating meat sparingly. The downside is it's a heck of a lot of food and it's like too much. And for those who are perfectionists who feel like, if I'm not doing it all, I'm failing, then that can be overwhelming. And it doesn't really give you direction on how to make this work. Like you really do have to get creative. It is totally and completely doable. In fact, I have a video on all of these things. So on the starch solution, if you go to Plantwise, my YouTube channel, I have a video all about Mary's Mini. So you can see exactly what I ate when I did Mary's Mini, which was half of my plate was potatoes, the other half was vegetables for 10 days. Okay. So check that one out. And then I have 2 videos about me following Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen and how I made it doable with my family and just how what I learned surprised me. So I'll link all those videos in the show notes. But when it came to Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, I really did have to get creative. I had to make a smoothie every morning and I had to add tofu to that smoothie every morning in order, or beans or chickpeas or something, in order to make sure that I was getting everything. And if you follow it that way, like you can be incredibly healthy. You can 100% lose weight. But for me, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to manage. It's a lot to wrap your head around. And while if you do all of this and if you figure out a way to make it consistent, it can be life-changing and you can make this into a lifestyle plan, which I love, and it's flexible. And if you don't feel like you need to be perfect at it, then you can definitely find success in Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. Now, the third plan that is really famous in the plant-based world is Dr. Fuhrman's Eat to Live plan. I love Dr. Fuhrman. He's all about nutrient density. So the starch solution, Dr. McDougall is all about like calorie density, and that's so powerful too. But I love that Dr. Fuhrman is, instead of just thinking about calories, let's look at how many nutrients we can get into your body. Let's make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for your buck. And this is the book that we read right after my husband's stroke. And this is the plan that we followed right after my husband's stroke. That improved his cholesterol. That brought his vision back. That really was a fantastic blessing for us to know, okay, what do we do? We were desperate and we wanted him to heal, and eating as many nutrients as possible was key to that healing. So I think if you're even more of that left brain person, that maybe you have been diagnosed with something, you've had a heart attack or you've had a stroke or you have high cholesterol, Dr. Fuhrman's Eat to Live plan is fantastic. And I definitely suggest reading his book. How we made this possible. So basically, this is what his plan is. Every morning you need to have a smoothie because you have to eat as many leafy greens as possible and berries. So in that smoothie, there was spinach and berries, and that's when we added flaxseed. The nice thing about Dr. Fuhrman's way of eating is that he allows more healthy fats, similar to Dr. Greger, but in Dr. McDougall's starch solution and the 50-50 plate, he does not want you to have any nuts. He does not want you to have any fat. I mean, it's super low fat, as low fat as possible, because it's all about calorie density, right? But I like that Dr. Fuhrman thinks, well, but there's a lot of vitamins that are fat soluble. Like, we need fats. We just don't want to go overboard. So it was okay to have a little bit of nuts when you are making your dressings, and it's okay to add flaxseed in there, just like Dr. Greger does with his. Now, for breakfast, you're having that smoothie. So you have tons of nutrients, right? You're getting the leafy greens and the berries and the flax seeds. And then for lunch, it's a huge salad. And that's the thing. You have to kind of meal prep a huge salad every single week. And so on the weekends, what I would do is just buy all the things. And then on Sunday, I would chop up all of the ingredients, make it just easy grab and go. So it was so easy to make a huge, delicious salad. And what was key in helping us feel full was that the salad always had a bean. So you have to have beans. So there's your protein. So you're not worried about protein. You're getting enough protein because he's big on the beans. And then for dinner, we just made a plant-based version of what we used to make before. So if I was making cashew chicken, instead I would make cashew chickpeas. Really easy swap. It felt so doable. I didn't even touch tofu at first. I was like, that's super overwhelming. I don't even want to think about tofu. I think that's disgusting. Now I love it. But back then I couldn't handle it. And so I like Dr. Fuhrman's Eat to Live. It gave us a great plan. The con is that for me, it wasn't sustainable. I honestly got sick of salads. I'll be honest. Like, I had to take a break from salads. Now I eat a salad, I would say a few times a week, but just having to eat the salad every single day, like, you just get sick of it. And I needed to mix things up a little bit more. And the food prep, like having to prep all that stuff every week to have on hand. And then sometimes it'd go bad if I get sick of salads. And in the winter, I didn't want salads as much as in the summer, having that flexibility. But it works. It works. My husband lost 20 pounds. He improved his cholesterol a lot, lowered his blood pressure. All of the benefits that we received made all of the sacrifice completely worth it. And then at that point, it was like, okay, well, now how do we adjust to living in the real world and maybe not eating a salad every single day for the rest of our life? Now, the one thing that has changed for my husband, he has been consistent in this because he realized through this process that there was a restaurant just a couple doors down from his office that has a salad bar. And so now what he chooses to eat for lunch when he goes out to lunch, it's not meeting up with friends or anything like that. But when he's going out to lunch on his own, he goes to that salad bar and he gets a big salad every day and he uses beans as the protein. The only difference is he's not making nut-based salad dressings by hand. He'll definitely buy the store-bought salad dressing to go along with it. But this has been key. Like, it really did establish that pattern of having a salad as often as possible for lunch. And for me, it gave me the perfect experimental ground to just experiment with other recipes, Mexican recipes, because I knew that we liked beans. I love that black beans are something that my family has loved even before we went plant-based, which has helped us be more successful in this because we at least had that. The downside, though, one of the biggest cons is because we went all in so fast. We went from like standard American diet, not even standard American. We were eating a high protein diet at the time because I just had twins. We were losing the twin baby weight, not just me, but my husband too. And so we had been following more of that high protein diet and it was working, but that's also the diet that my husband had a stroke on. So I was like, okay, we can't do this. We've got to change something. And we were eating a significantly more fiber, like overnight, just like that. And our gut felt it. Not so much for me. I feel like I was more used to eating this way, so I didn't feel the side effects, but my husband was stinky. And I can't believe I'm saying this on oh, he never listens to this stuff, but he was stinky. And it took him longer than it should have. It took him like a solid month for his gut to adjust. And for the average individual, Like you're not willing to wait that long. That's a long time to be really stinky. I think most people would just give up. But what's fascinating is his gut microbiome completely changed. And now he gets stinky if he eats meat. He gets stinky. I'm like, what did you eat? Like, why? What? What is going on? Because now he's so used to eating more of a plant-based diet that if he eats something completely different, then there's some side effects to it. So part of that is we just went all in, but we went all in because we were the left brain side. And this is why I wanted to speak to the right brain side, the people who just feel a spiritual pull. I think for you, it's actually better to go a little bit slower, to give yourself time to adjust because you want to make this a lifestyle. And if you don't have that strong medical pull like we did, then going slower will help your gut adjust, help you not to have the side effects of the gas and the bloating, and allow yourself that flexibility that makes it feel like it's not such a struggle. It's not such a sacrifice. Now, another really popular way of doing this is just intermittent fasting in general. And I think intermittent fasting can be very beneficial, but here's the problem. Intermittent fasting, most of the research that's been done in intermittent fasting has been done on men, not on women. And as Stacy Sims likes to say, women are not little men. We react differently. Men thrive on intermittent fasting. They do very well. But women, it can work short term, but over the long term, it may not work as well. And it may not be beneficial. Plus, we want to be eating according to our circadian rhythm. And sometimes intermittent fasting, it's just easy to skip breakfast. But that's not how your circadian rhythm works. It's actually better for women to eat breakfast. Like we need breakfast. And then maybe to skip dinner or have a very light dinner. And if we ate more towards our circadian rhythm, then we'd be able to see more benefits. And when I tried, I gave intermittent fasting a good go. A lot of people are all about intermittent fasting these days, especially when you pair it with yerba mate. I never could intermittent fast until I started drinking yerba mate. And that's because yerba mate completely takes away your appetite. It's amazing. It's an amazing appetite suppressant. It really works. It really does. And so it was easy to drink yerba mate in the morning and not have breakfast. And I didn't have an appetite for breakfast. Usually I would, but because of the mate, I took it away. And then I would eat lunch and then usually a snack and then dinner. That worked for a while, but then I got like ravenously hungry, like so hungry. It was like I was a bottomless pit during my eating window. I'm like, okay, this isn't good. Seeing that side effect. And yes, it did help me lose a few pounds and I was going to an event. So I wanted to look really good and whatever. But for me, it is not a lifestyle. Like I couldn't do that for a lifestyle change. And when you're wanting to lose weight, this needs to be a lifestyle. And that's why I want to tell you about the plantwise method, because after seeing all of these women who have been trying the Starch solution or Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen or Eat to Live or intermittent fasting, there wasn't anything that felt like this could be a lifestyle that wasn't also overwhelming. Because I think Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen can totally be a lifestyle, but it feels like just so much to check all of those boxes. It felt like way too many boxes. And while I was praying about this and thinking about that, I mean, it took years. I'm like, God, give me a way to make this simple for these women who are in my program. I really just truly want to help these women who have been called, who feel spiritually led to eat this way, but are struggling and feel like they're battling this constant battle with their weight. And while I was at a medical conference last summer, I heard a few things which were fascinating. Number one, I heard doctors talk about how as you age, you actually need more protein than the RDA talks about. And a typical plant-based diet, you're not actually absorbing all of the protein in the beans because it's paired with fiber. You don't always absorb every single gram of that protein. So we need to be eating a little bit more protein. We need to be more conscious of protein. You need more protein when you get older. And when I heard this, I realized, look, most of the women in my program, they're like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. They need more protein than what the Starch solution is giving them. And then I also heard two other things. Number one, I heard that Dr. Alan Desmond got up and spoke and he talked about, because this medical conference is to doctors. So he's telling these doctors, if you have a patient that's having issues, this is the first thing that you ask them. Number one, are you eating 3 servings of vegetables a day? Number 2, are you eating 3 servings of whole grains every day? And number 3, are you eating 3 servings of fruit every day? And that really impacted me because if you are truly doing that, it's going to reduce so many health issues that you have. And to me, that simplified things. I mean, we've seen the research on it. We've seen the governmental, we're not doing like the food pyramid anymore. If you were to actually look online, instead of the food pyramid, it's the My Plate. And the My Plate kind of goes in line with this. It's structured into 4 sections. And in fact, PCRM does a really great job because they have also submitted their version of My Plate to the government, which will never be accepted. But it's, again, 4 sections on your plate. That a quarter of it is beans, a quarter of it is whole grains, a quarter of it is vegetables, and a quarter of it is fruit. And as I looked at that, I thought, yes, that's exactly how we should be eating, how we make this a lifestyle change, how we add as many nutrients as possible, but we don't feel like we're going on a diet. We just need to make sure that there's 4 things on our plate and not be overwhelmed with a dozen things in a day. And that way we're getting all of that. But I do feel like for some women, they need a little bit more support. Like they can't handle 3 servings of beans a day. And so we need a little bit more flexibility. Maybe the protein source can be something besides beans. Maybe it can be for some people who are still maybe more flexitarian fish. For other people, maybe even just protein powder. Because at the medical conference, I also learned that when you eat protein powder, that yes, it is a processed food, but when it comes to protein absorption, your body is able to absorb all of that protein versus the beans, you're not able to completely absorb all of it. For some people who are older, you need to be considering adding protein powder. And here's the coolest thing. I realized that when we prioritize fruit at every meal, that your sugar cravings start to go away. Because for many of you women who are battling with weight, who have struggled and struggled, it's not the meat, it's not the dairy. Let's be honest. It's the sugar. It's the late night treat. It's the snacking. And if you are prioritizing fruit, something magical happens that you get that sweet treat at the end of your meal. I always make sure that my fruit is the last thing that I eat. And then all of a sudden, I don't need the chocolate. I don't need all these other things. Or if I want the chocolate, I still eat it, but with the fruit. And then all of a sudden, when I just eat chocolate alone, it's not as satiating. It's not as satisfying. It's like I crave the fruit. The fruit can change everything. And the fruit, that simple thing, by small and simple things, great things come to pass. But the fruit could be the one thing that is actually preventing you from being able to drop your sugar cravings. And another thing, when it comes to following a healthy diet and maybe just eating as many vegetables as possible, looking at it from just a general healthy perspective, when we forget the whole grain, when we forget the beans, we're actually not eating enough fiber. You cannot get enough fiber from fruits and vegetables alone. That the majority of our fiber actually comes from the whole grains and the legumes and the potatoes. We need the starch. We need that. We can't forget about it. We need that as part of our plate. And so when women join my program, that's what I do. And I'm giving this all to you because I still feel like for those who are called, who feel like they need more support, like, this is what I teach. And then I just help you and give you the support and accountability. We all know what to eat, but accountability is a whole other picture and a whole other game. And you're welcome to join my program if you feel like you need that accountability, because that's what I offer. But if you just want to try this on your own, then next time when you sit down for breakfast, I want you to look down at your plate and ask yourself, do I have at least 20 grams of protein on this plate? We're not worried about going super high protein. We're just looking for adequate protein. So is there at least 20 grams of protein in total, whether that's from a protein powder, whether that's from beans, or whether that's from even some animal-based proteins like Greek yogurt or something while you're transitioning to eating less meat? And then do you have a whole grain? Do you have a vegetable? And do you have a fruit? So for example, this is what my breakfast looks like every single day. So every single day, I get a half a cup of oats with some water and I cook it in the microwave for 1 minute. Then I pull it out of the microwave and I do anywhere between a half a scoop or a full scoop, depending on how much protein I'm focusing on that day, a half a scoop or a full scoop of protein powder. I like the Truvani brand right now. That's just because I like the taste of it. It's plant-based, but any type of brand works. Then I add in more soy milk because that's also going to increase the protein. Soy milk has more protein than any other plant-based milk. So that's why I really like soy milk. My husband still just likes almond milk though. And then I add in a handful of wild blueberries. And you may be asking, well, where's your veggie? How do you add a veggie to breakfast? Super easy. It's just a handful of frozen riced cauliflower. So with the frozen blueberries and the frozen riced cauliflower, and especially if I'm adding chocolate protein powder, it feels like I'm eating a Wendy's Frosty for breakfast every single morning. It is the most delicious thing of all time. Like it is fantastic. And it is so filling, especially if I do that full scoop of protein powder. It's like, whoo, I am full for hours and hours and hours. Okay. For lunch, what does that look like? Well, I just made my lunch before this and I pulled out, I was like, okay, I need my whole grain. Where's my whole grain? Oh, we're out of bread. Okay. I'm going to do a whole grain tortilla. And then for my vegetable, I had just salad. We have like a standing garden and I just cut off some salad. And then for my protein, I bought some tempeh that's already flavored because I want to make this as easy as possible. So when I was at the grocery store, I was like, oh, tempeh that's flavored. And one serving was 20 grams of protein. So easy. Crumbled that tempeh on top. It's already flavored. So simple. But there's so many other ways that you can do that. It doesn't have to be tempeh. There can be other plant-based sources of protein, whether it's beans, anything. Okay. And the nice thing is, if you think of 20 grams of protein from beans, that's a ton of beans. But remember, you can count the protein from your whole grain. So my whole grain tortilla has 5 grams of protein. So I really only need to add in an extra 15 grams of protein, which is totally doable from beans. Then I add in some store-bought salad dressing because I'm not a robot. Like I want some flavor, right? And I added in some tomatoes and then I made it into a wrap. And then for dessert, I had some grapes. So that's what I did. I had some grapes and I'll be honest, I have a protein bar and that I don't eat the whole bar, but sometimes I want something just a little bit more than just grapes. And so I like section the protein bars in like halves or thirds and I'll have a little bit of the protein bar with the grapes and I'm like, got it. Perfect. Had my sweet treat. I'm good to go until dinner time. Like I'm so full. And then for dinner, it looks like a typical plant-based dinner that I'll make for my family. And I have plenty of those recipes on my vegan YouTube channel if you want to check it out. Again, I'm not completely vegan, but I just cook vegan recipes for my family. And so those can be as simple as lentil dal. The other night we had black beans, just typical like black bean and rice Mexican dinner. It's so easy for dinner. I feel like dinner is the easiest thing. There's so many different ways you can do it, but don't forget to add the fruit. And so usually I'll have the rest of that protein bar with my fruit for dinner, for the after dinner treat. Or sometimes I'll do yogurt with fruit as my after dinner treat, yogurt and fruit, and maybe a little bit of granola. So good. This is how you make it a lifestyle change. This does not have to be overwhelming. This does not have to be a temporary diet. And the more simple you can make it, the more sustainable it can be. So I encourage both my right and my left brain people to find a way to make this work, especially my right brain people. You have been called to eat less meat and you can still get enough protein and you can be so much healthier. You can make this work for you. You can follow the word of wisdom. I promise you, you can. Give it a second chance. If you need more help and support, that's why I developed my membership. It was what I wish that I had when we went plant-based. I wish I had that support. I wish I had a place to go to ask for recipes. Be like, hey guys, what do I feed the missionaries? They're coming over. They're going to be like, what? There's no meat. You know, what's your favorite meal to feed the missionaries? You know what I feed them? I feed them my cauliflower soup or my lasagna soup. And I always make sure that I have good bread because that's always a fan favorite. Things like that. It's just so helpful to know just to be able to have that springboard and also to be able to have that accountability. There's something that when you pay for something, you pay attention. That when you commit for something, like even me personally, I am wanting to hit that next level in my fitness. I have been strength training. I have been doing all the things, being as healthy as I possibly can. And I knew that if I hired a personal trainer, then I would hit that next level, that I would be able to get my form checked and be able to get there. And so that's why I decided to do it. And it's amazing what just simple accountability does. It's like, oh, now I'm doing things that 2 weeks ago I felt like were so hard, like tracking my calories. I hate tracking. I hate it. I actually don't anymore. There's something about knowing that someone's going to look at it that I'm like, oh, okay, it's kind of fun. It's kind of like a game. And also, especially for you women, when we have raised children and our children came to us and were like, hey, mom, I really want to play soccer. I want to be better at soccer. Do you tell your child, just go figure it out by yourself? You'll be fine. You can be a soccer star by figuring this out all by yourself. Or do you tell them that if they can't figure it out by themselves, they're less than, they're not as worthy, they're not as good, they're not as amazing, there's something wrong with them because they couldn't figure out how to play soccer by themselves? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. When it comes to that, we give our child support. We're like, oh, you want to play soccer? Okay, let's put you on a soccer team. Let's give you a coach. Let's give you soccer teammates that you can compete against, you can work with, you work together so you both get better. That's how we function as human beings. And you are not less than if you need help and support. You are not less than if you want to lose weight and can't do it on your own. There is nothing wrong with you. You are worthy, you are amazing, and you can do this, and your best days are ahead, and you're going to succeed. But you may need a soccer team to succeed. You may not be that 1 in 1 million random soccer player who just would play soccer in his backyard and then became a star. That can happen, but it's not the most common way. The most common way is we have a coach, we have support, we have help. And so if you are struggling, if you know that you need to eat this way, you haven't been able to do it on your own. And I want you to go ahead and try this. Try eating the way that I directed. But if you're still struggling, that may be a sign that you need to ask for help. And there's nothing wrong with that. That does not mean you're less than. That does not mean there's anything wrong with you. You're amazing. You are amazing. You want to follow God's will. I love your heart. I love who you are. And that's why I honestly started a whole business. It is to help women just like you. All right. Well, I just wanted today to talk about all of the typical ways. I saw that comment on my last video and I just want to reach out, pull through the internet. Let's pull out and help you guys. I just want to help you so bad to see that you don't have to fight this constant battle of weight. You don't have to do it alone. All right. I love you. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to Eat Meat Sparingly, a Word of Wisdom podcast. I'm your host, Ali Essig. And if you need more help and support with transitioning to eating more plants so you can lose weight and feel better, improve your gut health, and just reduce your risk of chronic disease, then make sure to check out my plantwise membership. That's PLANTWHYS, because I like to teach the why behind eating more plants. But if all you need is just a couple more delicious recipes that feed your family and everyone loves, and not to mention super simple and easy, then make sure to check out my YouTube channel, which is also plantwise, PLANTWHYS. Hope to see you there.